Imagine being dropped into a 4 million square mile prison with no walls, no fences, and no escape. This is Siberia, 1940. Our story begins in the dark heart of Soviet labor camp 105, a place where the cold kills faster than the guards. We meet Janusz, a young Polish officer whose only crime was being in the wrong place at the wrong time. He's been sentenced to 20 years of hard labor after his own wife was tortured into testifying against him. The camp is a nightmare of politicals and hardened criminals who rule the barracks with sharpened shivs. Janusz quickly learns the first rule of survival: compassion is a luxury. We see a young boy murdered over a wool sweater while the other prisoners simply watch, their spirits already broken. But Janusz isn't broken. He meets Khabarov, an actor who whispers about a great escape to the south, across the Gobi Desert and into India. Khabarov claims he's building a team, but is he a dreamer or a plant for the secret police? Janusz has to decide if he's going to rot in the permafrost or risk everything for a ghost of a chance. Janusz begins to assemble his crew, but he doesn't look for friends. He looks for skills. He approaches Mr. Smith, a steely American who survived the Great Depression only to find a deeper hell in Russia. Smith is the ultimate pragmatist. He knows that escaping the camp is the easy part. Surviving the green wall of the Siberian forest is where most men die. Slowly, the group grows. Tomasz, an artist who can draw maps from memory. Vas, a Latvian priest. And Kazakh, a boy who shouldn't be here. But their plans are nearly derailed when Valka, a violent criminal with a debt to settle, discovers the plot. He doesn't want freedom. He wants to escape the Irqi bosses who are out for his blood. Janusz makes a dangerous gamble, allowing a murderer into their circle to keep him quiet. On the night of a massive blizzard, when the guards are blinded by the snow, the group cuts the wire. They step out into the white abyss, knowing that if they stop moving for even a minute, they'll become permanent fixtures of the Siberian landscape. The euphoria of escape lasts exactly 1 hour. The blizzard that gave them cover is now their greatest enemy. The group is moving blindly through the taiga, their breath freezing in their lungs. Disaster strikes early when Kazakh, the youngest and most fragile, becomes disoriented in the snow. By the time Janusz finds him, the boy is a frozen statue. They don't even have the strength to bury him in the frozen earth. They simply cover him with snow and keep walking. Every mile is a battle. They are eating bark and frozen frogs, their bodies beginning to eat themselves from the inside out. Valka's presence is a constant source of tension, his hand always near his knife, while Smith remains the cynical voice of reason, reminding them that they haven't even finished the easy part of the journey yet. Weeks into their trek, the landscape begins to shift. They reach the shores of Lake Baikal, a massive inland sea that marks a major milestone. But they aren't alone. They encounter Irina, a teenage girl hiding in the brush. She claims to have escaped a collective farm, but Smith is instantly suspicious. He knows that in the Soviet Union, anyone could be an informant. He wants to leave her behind, arguing that another mouth to feed is a death sentence for all of them. But Janusz sees his own wife in her eyes. He chooses humanity over logic and brings her into the group. Surprisingly, Irina becomes the bridge between these hardened men. She listens to their stories, helps them tend to their blisters, and for a moment, the group feels like a family instead of a pack of hunted animals. But as they approach the Mongolian border, they realize that the Soviet shadow is longer than they imagined. They cross the border into Mongolia, expecting to find a land of freedom. Instead, they find a landscape littered with Buddhist monasteries turned into ruins and Soviet military patrols. The freedom they sought is a lie. Valka, seeing the red star everywhere, realizes he can never truly leave Russia. In a strange moment of criminal honor, he parts ways with the group, choosing to join a local gang of bandits rather than face the unknown of the desert ahead. Now down to 5, the group faces their most daunting obstacle, the Gobi Desert. Siberia tried to freeze them. The Gobi is going to bake them. The Gobi is a hellscape of shimmering heat and endless dunes. Water is no longer a necessity. It's a god. Their lips crack until they bleed, and their eyes are swollen shut from the dust. This is where the psychological toll begins to outweigh the physical. Tomish starts hallucinating, seeing lush gardens in the distance, while Smith withdraws into a silent, grim determination. Irina, the heart of the group, is the first to fail. The heat is too much for her. Despite the men taking turns carrying her, she passes away under the scorching sun. They bury her under a mound of stones, a tiny marker in a vast, indifferent ocean of sand. Against all odds, the 4 remaining men reach the foothills of the Himalayas. Behind them is a trail of blood and dead friends. Ahead of them is the most formidable mountain range on Earth. The air becomes thin, and every step feels like a mountain in itself. They are no longer walking. They are crawling toward India. This is where Smith finally breaks his silence, revealing the tragedy of his son's death and Russia's secret he's carried since the camp. It's this shared grief that binds them together for the final push. They aren't just walking for freedom anymore. They're walking to honor the ones who couldn't. The transition is jarring. They crest a final snowy pass and see the green valleys of Sikkim below. The smell of damp earth and blooming life is overwhelming. They are found by a British patrol, looking like ghosts who have walked out of a nightmare. The soldiers can't believe their story. 4 men walking from the Arctic Circle to the Indian border. They're taken to a hospital where they see white sheets and hot tea, things they haven't touched in over a year. But as Janusz recovers, he realizes that while his body is free, his home Poland is still behind the Iron Curtain. The war ends, but for Janusz, the journey continues. He refuses to return to a Poland occupied by the same regime that sent him to the Gulag. We see him in London, then in America, living a quiet, dignified life, always checking the news, always waiting. Decades pass. The Cold War freezes and thaws, and Janusz grows old. But he never loses that Siberian stare. He is a man out of time, waiting for the world to catch up to the freedom he walked for 1,000 miles to find. It's 1989, the Berlin Wall falls, and the Iron Curtain finally shreds into pieces. An elderly Janusz boards a plane to Poland. He walks down the street of his hometown, a ghost returning to the land of the living. He reaches a small house and knocks. An elderly woman opens the door, the wife who betrayed him out of fear, and the woman he never stopped loving. They don't say a word. They don't need to. The long walk that started in a blizzard in 1940 finally ends in a silent embrace in a free Poland. They survived the camp, the forest, the desert, and the mountains, proving that no wall is tall enough to keep a man from the way back home.